Hey guys, welcome to Shift Up, where we are shifting how you look at biking, transportation, and the community around you. I'm Arleigh, and I am going to be talking with Luke from Perennial Cycles up in Minneapolis. This is kicking off Bike Light Week, and what that is if you were to visit a good bike shop, a good city bike shop, and ask them about lighting, this week is going to be little snippets of different types of lights. I'm going to be talking to light engineers and designers. And today, to kick us off, I'm talking with my friend Luke up in Minneapolis, all about Dynamo. And so, Luke, this is your second time being victim to my podcast. I'll link to last year, Luke and I talked about winter biking. And in that, we mentioned Dynamo lights. And Luke, to me, there's a couple of people that I look to as experts in Dynamo, and that's Peter White and Luke. And so Luke is relatable. He's a city cyclist. He owns a great city shop in Minneapolis. And maybe a month ago, I reached out to Luke because I wanted to add Dynamo lights to my wife's acoustic bike. Most of my bikes are electric. They have built-in lighting, but this one bike that she loves to ride doesn't. And so I reached out to Luke, and Luke, the goal of this conversation is just basically to repeat everything you've told me. And I'm sorry for making you do that again, but Dynamo lights, let's talk super basics. What is a Dynamo light?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Arleigh. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks. Kind of the big deal is your front hub is producing energy. So you're not having to carry batteries, you're not having to make sure your batteries are charged. You are generating the power, and so you're your own little power utility station. And you have to have lights that are designed to accept the power from the hub. But it's really not, I mean, it seems kind of magical because of the fact that, you don't really know where's this power coming from. But it's not, your power is coming from the front hub. You're going to add a front light, and you're going to add a rear light. You don't have to add a light at all. Some people use the power to charge their phones. Cycle tourists would have a different need for Dynamo. But anyway, the key feature is your front hub is producing power that can be used by you. Usually it's going to be lights. Our commuters that go that way, it's an investment, but once they go that way, it's like, bam, you got it, it's on, it's solidly mounted to your frame. It's not something that thieves can grab off of the bike. And so, yeah, you know that your lights are going to be working.
Luke, you're good at this because I was going to ask the next pros and cons, but for me, probably in the last 5 to 8 years, Dynamo lights become a little bit more mainstream, meaning like they're easier to get. You no longer have to go through like one source in the US to get the hubs and the quality lights. And then from my standpoint, so what I did is I have a Cannondale city bike. My wife loves it. It's like neon pink. And I reached out to Luke and said, Luke, my wife needs lights. She doesn't want to deal with charging them. I don't want to deal with charging them. And then we live in Colorado where if you have rechargeable lights, they often die in the cold. So if you leave them on your bike in the garage, locked up outside, they might not work when you come back out because, the lithium ion definitely doesn't hold a charge as long in the cold. So I reached out to Luke and he was like, okay, and there's kind of a few options. So if I was walking into your store today, Luke, and said, hey, look, I want a reliable light option. I don't want to have to deal with recharging it. Maybe I tried that last year and it was just a headache. What questions would you ask me to figure out what type of Dynamo system and light brightness and things?
Yeah, no, great way to kind of approach this. So I'm right back to where I was before. The first thing we're going to be dealing with is the hub. We need to figure out what we're going to use for.
What is a hub, Luke? If somebody's watching this.
What's that? So the hub.
Oh, look at you.
I got one right here. So this is a Sun front hub. So envision your spokes going in here and your rim being around this. So this is your front hub, and Dynamo has to be the front. There isn't such a thing as a rear Dynamo hub. So it's always going to be a front hub, and it's going to be that centerpiece of your front wheel. So the questions kind of narrowed things down hugely in Emily's case, because she had a through axle front wheel. So for the front hub was through axle, which is kind of a special kind of, it's a more modern type of system. But at this point, it's only the high-end manufacturers that are doing through axle Dynamo hubs. So right away, we narrowed it down. In my world, we narrowed it down to just a couple of choices. But that's going to be kind of one of the key elements. Obviously, budget has to be discussed. You know, where are we at as far as money? Some people you can break it up, but the key pieces are going to be your front wheel and your front light. You can break it up and add the rear light later. The reality is rear lights are extremely cheap. $60 gets like one of the best ones out there.
So if you're going to just do it all.
Yeah, typically you're just going to do it all. You're going to do the front wheel, you're going to do front light, and you're going to do rear light. And if you're breaking it up, possibly later you're going to get a charging system that could charge something. So because that is something that you don't need to keep the lights going. But we're going to be talking about getting your front wheel figured out so that we can get a base of what we're going to be using to power your lights. Then on the lights, this is a little tricky because the lights, what they're saying, they use lux. So lux is kind of the identifier for how bright your light is. And it's a different type of measuring compared to lumens. Lumens are what we talk about when we're talking about rechargeable lights. We kind of think of 500 lumens as being a light that can be used on the street quite well to be seen, and it's even bright enough to shine a path if you're in a dark place. It's right on the cusp there. 500 is kind of as low as we go if we're going to use it truly to shine in the darkness. But most of our customers, they're more about being seen by cars. So 500 is enough. I kind of equate 500 lumens to around 65 lux. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I'll get kickback on that because scientifically it's really hard to study it.
Totally.
So it's more of a real world.
Do you remember when we talked about watts?
Yes.
Like back
yes,
10,
exactly.
15 years ago.
Exactly.
And what's one of the other folks we're going to talk to this week are actually with Kryptonite, who has a new USB charged light that uses lux.
Okay.
So I think it's becoming more popular, but Luke, I would say my average consumer of this is going to be your layman. So tell them they want to be seen what lux, and if they want to be able to see when it's dark, what lux.
Yes. So we're going to be typically all of our Dynamo front lights that we're going to sell, they're going to be 60 to 110 lux. And 110 is what we sell the most of because it's not that big of a price difference between them. That's what we did for Emily's bike. I will point out something. These lights in Germany, it's law to have generator powered lights on your bike if you're going to ride at night. And so clearly there's a whole lot of product that has to be on the bikes in Germany. So the product that we're selling, it's all German. It's all German. And one of the nice things is some people, when I talk about high power, they get a little nervous about blinding other cyclists coming their way. And there's another law in Germany that says it has to be mirrored light. So the light shines up on a mirror and goes down onto the path. It's a lot less likely to shine in the eyes of someone that you're passing. And it's pretty cool technology that I feel like all lights should have this, but it's more expensive to do it that way. So a little higher tech. But anyway, I think.
Well, and Luke keeps referencing my wife's bike, but I'll link up here and below like the whole rundown video of installing these and what it looks like. But I think one thing I would say about this style of light is it's going to last as long as you need it to. I've only screwed up Dynamo lights in two fashions, one crashing,
Yep.
and then way back when you could blow up the lights.
Yeah.
But that's kind of gone away. And Luke, I want to take us back one step, because a lot of maybe people that were interested in dynamos a while ago, it used to be that you had like Shimano dynamo hubs, which give you a lot of friction when you spin that wheel. And that's what people didn't want. They didn't want their bike to feel like it was harder because they wanted this dynamo light. But now the technology's out that like if you spin these wheels, you can feel it in your hands, but there's no way you could tell it on the stand. So I think that's one of the barriers. I hear a lot of like, well, I don't want to make my bike slower.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. And I will say one of the big ones here, back in the days when it was halogen lights, it takes a lot of power to power up a halogen light bulb, like 10 times as much as an LED. And so when you turn your lights on, you know, there's a little extra drag because it's pushing out that energy. Yeah, back in the days of halogen, it wasn't a great popular choice. They were expensive, but not that bright because nothing was that bright. And you burned out lights fairly frequently. Like if you were running a front and a rear system and your rear burned out, your front would burn out a little bit after that. They were pretty high maintenance. The days of LED, the resistance has gone way, way down, and just the practicality of them, I've never seen a light bulb burn out since LEDs come along.
Luke, talk to me about price, right? And I think we're going to have two different ends of the spectrum. We have somebody that just wants to be safe. They get on the bike. It always has lights on day or night. They just get on and ride.
Yeah.
Let's include your install because that customer probably doesn't want to deal with wiring.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll get from Luke, because Luke has a wonderful website. I'll get from him the links of everything we're about to talk about so you can see like what a package looks like. But Luke, what would you say, like, I have a basic hybrid. I just want to be safe through the winter. Maybe I'm going to use a headlight on my helmet to actually truly see. What would that cost? Yeah,
no, and by the way, I love the idea of the headlight on top. I'm one that uses Dynamo on my bike, and I have a headlight up here. Nighttime, winter is mostly nighttime, so
especially
yeah,
in Minnesota.
Really yes. Okay, so cost-wise, I think we'd be talking about like a basic commuter kit that we'd set up where we're not super concerned about the resistance coming out of the hub. We're going to be using a more basic hub. That's where the price is going to drop a little bit. That's going to be probably $320 installed. So you're going to be spending, we always have at least one wheel option that's going to be less than $200. So that's leaving a fair bit of room to figure out what front light you want to use, what rear light you want to use, and get it fully installed.
And this is what blows my mind is I remember when decent lights were that much, right? And this is a system that your shop would install or Luke would send to you and you can install it yourself. And you probably for the next 5 years will not have to worry about lights ever unless you do something silly like me, which is crash and pull your wires out. But this is a leave it, forget it, be seen system.
Totally. Yeah. And lots of our users just turn it on, leave it on. They don't even bother turning it off. Actually, the majority of our lights recognize that it's daytime and they shine a little bit different a light during the day. So super high-tech stuff. What I was saying about it reflecting down, that's at nighttime. Daytime, it wants the light to go straight out because you need that extra light for the cars to see you. So yeah, it is kind of amazing, the technology that you're getting. I know it seems like a big chunk to bite off money-wise, but you are getting a value for it. There's no question about it. Talking about price and packages, we just moved to a new platform on our website, and we are setting things up so that the wheels, you can actually go to one of our Dynamo wheels, you can use it as a tool to choose all the different options that you'll need to put together the package. And so you can easily see what the cost is for everything. So far, I'm only through the Brompton Dynamo wheels, but I bet by the end of this week, all the wheels will be that way. And it is one of the kind of intimidating features is I just don't know what I'm paying for. The guy in the shop saying it's going to be $400, but I don't know whether I'm getting a good enough front light. This way, you could truly analyze it yourself. And mind you, if you want to just call and have us take care of you, we're fully capable to. Do
you still have chat on your website?
We do have chat on our website, yeah.
I selfishly, as a shop owner, would chat with Luke's employees because I'd be like, I don't know what they're talking about. Because like somebody would come in that busted a Dynamo light, and I'd be like, here's the link that you need to order. I'll do your service, but I have no idea. And so Luke, we have the like be seen option.
Yes.
Let me go to the other extreme, which is I want to be able to quickly ride at night. And I say quickly because there's this idea that you can outrun your light. And this is when we talk about lumens and headlights. And what that means is you need to be able to see far enough ahead to make judgment, to react. And so we talk about brightness. And the reason I'm asking, I want to be able to quickly ride when it's dark. It's now dark at like 4:30 p.m. here in Colorado. So let's say I just want a reliable bike. Maybe I'm a quick city commuter, but I do take the dark paths at night. What does that package look like?
So our favorite, several of us here in the shop are running it. Bush & Mueller has a front light called the IQX. And the IQX is a 100 lux light. It's bright enough that on a downhill run, you're going 35 miles an hour, you're going to be comfortable doing it. You are literally shining a light out there a good 25 feet. And if you want to bring it up, you could. But yeah, I know I'm thinking about where I am myself. I'm always playing with it. 25 feet is about where I'm at. If you're a faster rider, then you're going to push it out there a little bit farther. It's all about angling the light. But I have done overnight rides where I'm pushing it. I'm trying to go at pace that I'm comfortable with, gravel events, and I've never wondered at all whether I had enough light. That is enough to do it. So that's the high-end extreme or the brighter extreme, 100. 40 is as low as we would recommend here in the shop. You can get lower than 40, but 40 is where we're at for the most basic commuter. So that's kind of the range of things for us.
How much is that IQX light?
Yeah, IQX is $160 for the light.
And so let's say I started off as that like budget everyday rider.
Yes.
Does it require anything else other than like changing out the headlight?
Yeah, no, great question. No, it doesn't. How the wiring works on the bikes, obviously the front light has to have a wire running down to your hub. It has to connect to the power source. Actually, that's the only thing that's going to connect to the power source because your rear light is powered through the front light. And it is something We have a Dynamo lab that we've created here to
It's really
measure.
great.
Was
it on Instagram? You posted it last year?
It is super nerdy.
This is why I tuned to Luke for all of these things.
Yeah, we like to be able to measure the difference between one hub and another, and how much power, how much is getting added resistance-wise with one light versus another light. And one thing we have definitely learned is that rear lights add 0 to the resistance. So the front light is managing the power for the rear light, and the front light clearly is just shifting some of its power to the rear rather than needing more. So you are not adding more resistance to add a rear light to the system, that's for sure.
That's great. So let's say somebody watching this right now goes and buys your budget, they get through the winter and they're like, oh yeah, maybe I do want to do night rides, or I'm taking that darker path. They just literally are unplugging.
That's right.
It's not as clear as like unplugging and I'll do an overlay right now of what it looked like when I installed mine, but it's not hard. I just recommend taking pictures before you unplug everything. But that's probably my favorite part of this whole thing, is it can adapt with you.
Yes.
Compared to, I remember buying a $900 headlight from Light in Motion, who I love, but this was like a racing, 24-hour racing. I need as much light as possible as I'm, sleep deprived in the middle of the night. And their batteries weren't interchangeable. And so like when you buy the system, now you're having to change out all the batteries that you might have already had. So I love this idea of Dynamo, and it's something that I am slowly switching out. Like I just ordered a gravel bike and I was like, yep, I want Dynamo. Right. Even if it's just to charge my iPhone off of it during a long ride, to me, it's worth whatever wattage, your Dynamo lab can tell me how many watts I'm losing.
Yes, right.
But, so can your tires, right? Like properly inflating your tires can make up for whatever you're losing. Yeah. So Luke, where do people find you in this Dynamo pick your own adventure?
So, a couple things. For one, I just want to pick up on something you mentioned. So we have a lot of history using Dynamo and setting it up. So I will say we have numerous customers that have changed bikes, and at some point in time they spent big money on their front hub. They upgraded to the Sun front hub. So we take that and we rebuild it for their new bike. It's a very common thing for us to do. Maybe we're going to shift all of their Dynamo to the new bike. But that, like I say, that hub, that's kind of the heart of the system. If someone spent big on their front hub, that hub is going to go with them. And it literally, the company recommends getting it overhauled every 100,000 miles. So that's a lot of miles.
Well, and Luke, I just want to also add in here, like, this is where Europe really thinks about biking differently, right? Like, you wouldn't buy a car without headlights. And that's really how they look at cycling everyday bikes. And slowly that's pulling over here, where people just need a reliable bike, and adding lights to it. I would rather have a $400 bike with Dynamo lights than a fancy $800 light or bike with nothing on it.
Right. No, being able to have your bike ready for the road is huge. And that's totally right into what Dynamo is about. And so as far as finding us, it's just perennialcycle.com. I was just looking over the weekend. I was doing some work on the website, and I realized that we have put Dynamo lighting under componentry. And I know we think of lights as being an accessory, but the reality is I'm beyond, I think in the day-to-day world of using a bike for transportation, I think it's time we start talking about lights as componentry rather than accessories.
Yeah. And the people that are listening that maybe don't live and breathe bikes, like componentry is like your chain, like things that you have to make a bike function, versus accessories would be like bags, or a lot of people put lights under an accessory that you add. So to Luke's point, like it needs to be a component. Where do you put fenders, Luke?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, that's in accessories, but it is one that we're just recently, someone was saying, I can't find vendors on our website, and it was because they were looking under components. So we are, as you know, a group here, we see bikes more and more, like you're saying, as a transportation item. And so some of these things get a little trickier right now. So
yeah, so you can find Luke at Perennial Cycles. And Luke was my test subject, where like I just hope to bring more shop owners onto this platform just so they can share knowledge instead of, especially now, like COVID, like so many of us are just living behind computer screens, and Luke and I text a lot, but it's so nice to see your face.
Yeah, no, I love this. This is fun.
Yeah. So perennialcycles.com. I'll link in the show notes everything we discussed, and go also look at the video I did of installing my wife's Dynamo setup, so you can really just see how straightforward it is. You just need zip ties, change the front tire, align the brake, and it's pretty straightforward.
Right on. That's great.
Thanks, Luke.
I'm glad to hear that. Thanks so much, Arleigh. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Okay, have a good day.
Bye.